Hey, what's up, Leaf fans? It's TML Domain, aka Persian Poppy. Um, Going through the Leaf Senators game from Thursday night. Um, it was a rather frustrating game to watch. It seemed like it was going to be like a very low event um game. It seemed like the Senators weren't going to generate much, and the Leafs just had to play solid, which they did. If it wasn't for uh, Campbell's mistakes in net when he came out to play the puck. I think it's one of those games where it could have been a real easy 2-0, 3-0 game, but bounces being what they are, the Ottawa Senators end up scoring two. I mean, they created some chances that they did end up with 31 shots on net. I don't think there was anything crazy in terms of high danger chances. Campbell made the easy saves that he was supposed to. Um, Both teams got three power plays in this game. Uh, in spite of everything that happened with Tim Peel and him being caught on the live mic talking about makeup calls and stuff like that. You see a game like the Ottawa Senators and the Maple Leafs. Um, the Senators had six players on the ice for 11 seconds. No one caught it. If you ever thought to yourself, well, there should be a makeup call for something like that. It didn't really come in this game. So it's, maybe it's the referees got caught. So, being that the Leafs and the Senators were playing a night or two after that, you saw that there wasn't really a makeup call for the Leafs that gave them an easy power play, but in general, it was a pretty low event game. The Leafs got dominated in the faceoff circle. I don't know what was going on in this game. Tavares, a lot of guys weren't winning too many faceoffs. Jason Spezza probably being the best faceoff guy on the team was 64%. Everybody else was 40% or lower. And even though the Leafs got 41 shots on net, I think they would have been able to create a lot more high danger chances if they won some more key faceoffs. But it's just the kind of game it was. The referees weren't calling much in this game. Uh, I I would like to show you the video, but I can't. But there was two slew foots that I caught from the Ottawa players. There was that 11 seconds where they had six guys on net, and then the referee calls off a very simple goal where the Ottawa Senator goalie makes a save. It goes off Mikheyev and into the net. He called it off right away. It just seemed like a very weirdly officiated game. I don't know. I think it's the officiating in the NHL this season has been very bad, and I think it's definitely going to get worse before it gets better. I think this is something the league will address in the off season. But in general, it was a frustrating game. That fourth line of Spezza and Joel Thornton didn't look too fast. They look kind of slow in this game. It's. I'm not a big fan of the line. I think if you put Thornton with two skilled guys like Matthews and Marner, it insulates him a little bit better. He doesn't have to skate around forecheck and do too much, so his speed isn't too much of a factor. But that fourth line, I mean, true, Jason Spezza did score, and that fourth line did generate a little bit, but they just look too slow for me. I don't know if it's a line that can go up against faster fourth lines in the Canadian division, like what Montreal has, or what Edmonton has. I think their speed is going to be an issue, especially since they're going to be playing Edmonton on Saturday and Monday. But it looks like with Freddie Anderson not being on the ice at all this week, that the Leafs are just going to play the healthy goaltender, and that's Jack Campbell. Like I said before, I don't think there's any real goalie controversy going on with the Toronto Maple Leafs. When Freddie Anderson did play, it's because Campbell was hurt, and now Campbell is playing because Freddie's hurt. The Leafs are just going with the guy who is healthy, and it's going to give him some minutes. So it is what it is. Um, but it was nice to see in the overtime. In the overtime, the Leafs shine a little bit more when it gets to 3-on-3. They tend to be a little bit more dangerous with two forwards and a defenseman out there. The Leafs have been pretty good in overtimes this year, and it shows. They got Matthews, they got Tavares, they got Marner, and they got Nylander, and I think Galchenyuk has looked dangerous in the games that he's played. I definitely think he's going to be able to get something done this season. I think he's going to be a permanent part of this roster for a little bit. Um, Montreal, with the trade deadline coming up, Montreal did make a trade and they got Eric Stahl. Um, it's not really a trade worth talking about. Montreal has center depth issues. So they went and got a veteran center who can play some minutes and kind of give their young centers a little bit more time to adjust properly. They haven't scored too much this year. So, you know, I think that's the kind of trades you're going to see. Expiring players being moved, and the teams with the cap space are going to take on as much cap space as they need to increase the return. And instead of you getting one draft pick for an Eric Stahl, the Buffalo Sabres ended up getting two draft picks, a third and a fifth. So I think these are the type of deals you're going to see from contenders. Not a lot of teams have cap space, like the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Toronto Maple Leafs, Edmonton Oilers. They don't have too much cap space. So if they're going to acquire a guy, it's either the third team has to get involved to take a little bit of that cap hit and maybe get a pick out of it. But um, a team like Buffalo already having Eric Stahl on their cap and fitting him in, he's an expiring contract. So they retained, I think, 50% of his deal, increase the return, get a second pick out of it. Um, I don't think the frankly, I think the Leafs playing two games in the last 10 days hurt them a little bit in this game. They looked a little bit out of sync. They didn't have their legs. It was a little bit sloppy in terms of making the passes. If they were a little bit more crisp, they could have definitely put some more goals past Forsberg and net for the Ottawa Senators. He seemed a little shaky. He was giving out rebounds. He didn't necessarily know where they were all the time. So I think it's one of those situations where the Leafs need to crash and bang a little bit more. There's a lot of times where there's a couple of instances in the game where like Spezza had the puck behind the net or Ingvall had the puck in front behind the net with time, and nobody was skating to the front of the net. And the Leafs are playing too much east and west right now. It's a defenseman skates into the zone, either throws it to one side or the other side. It's too much east and west, and it's not really north and south right now. And the same thing with when the players are behind the net and no one rushing the net, looking for that one-timer opportunity or a chance to knock a puck in. You're going from behind the net and you're passing it off to either winger, which is, you're keeping the puck to the outside. You're not really forcing it into the high danger areas. So unfortunately, the Leafs didn't look too great, but I think it's just one of those games where a team like the Ottawa Senators, once they start getting saves, they start gaining momentum and confidence in a game, and uh, you really have to take a page out of Edmonton's book when it comes to the Ottawa Senators. And the Edmonton Oilers use their speed to get the puck into the zone and in front of the net, and they get a goal early. And that goal early really takes the wind out of the sails of a team like the Ottawa Senators, where, once they're down 1 or 2 goals real quick in the first 5 to 10 minutes of a game, they tend to cheat and get a little bit out of whack in terms of what their systems are. And the high skill offensive teams take advantage of that, and that's usually what a team like Ottawa does when they have two guys like McDavid and Draisaitl combining for 30 points against just the Ottawa Senators. They're really taking advantage of a poor defensive team that's played a lot of different goaltenders in net this year, 4 or 5 different goaltenders this year. So, none of them really being all that great, but if you can get a goal early, it really changes the game. So that's what the Leafs really have to do. They really have to bear down and get focused, put the pedal to the metal, and right off the beginning of the game, go after the Leafs are a little too tentative and slow at the beginning of games, and they let teams settle into their game. And more and more you start to see that guys like Auston Matthews and Mitch Marner are not guys who are dying to go out there and just rack up points. They're not out there to go out and get 6-7 points a game, like the way Mika Zibanejad has in a couple of games recently against the Philadelphia Flyers, who are an atrocious defensive team. And Carter Hart right now is not an NHL caliber goalie. So the team like the New York Rangers, they're moving the puck quick, they're getting it into the slot, and guys like Mika Zibanejad are filling the net right now, and you really don't see that killer instinct from the Leafs top players like Mitch Marner, Auston Matthews, John Tavares. These guys are not the kind of guys who go out there saying, I need to get 3 or 4 points tonight. I'm looking for a Hart Trophy. I'm looking for a Maurice Richard Trophy. These guys don't care about that. It's becoming more and more evident to me that these guys don't care about their stats. They don't care about these trophies. They just want to win games. They want to get into the playoffs. They want to win games in the playoffs, and they want to do what matters most, and that's win a Stanley Cup. And that's fine. But it just, they don't seem to be the kind of team that, when they see Ottawa Senators in the schedule, their eyes light up and they say, it's points night. Let's go out there and get 2 or 3, 4 points each. Like the way, the Edmonton Oilers have absolutely dominated and beat up the Ottawa Senators this year. Their McDavid and Draisaitl eyes light up. They go out there, they get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 power plays against the Ottawa Senators, and they fill the net and they get their points. Because they know, there's going to be nights where they're playing against better teams, like the way the Leafs shut them down. They just, you can see it in McDavid and Draisaitl. Ever since those 3 games where the Leafs shut them down, they have more than made up for it in the games after that. They've gone out there and they're getting their points against every team, and they're making up for those 3 games where they didn't get nothing. So it's as a fan, I don't care. All I care about is wins, and I care about a Stanley Cup. I'm not gonna try to compare Auston Matthews to Connor McDavid, who has been on the power play an hour more than Matthews this season. It's clear Matthews isn't in it for these trophies. He's going to score goals because he wants his team to win games, but he's not out there trying to score hat tricks or it's just, you see it. How many games have you seen Auston Matthews get 2 goals and then there's nothing happening after that. He just doesn't. These guys are not. These Leaf players are not the kind of guys whose eyes light up. Oh, I got 2 goals tonight. Let's make it 3. Let's make it 4. Let's make it 5. It's points night. I really don't see that from the Leafs superstars. They just don't seem like those kinds of guys. So, um, the Mikheyev Hyman line looked good against the Senators. They had a lot of puck possession. They ended up getting a goal. TJ Brody drives to the net, gets his stick on the puck, knocks it off the crossbar and off Mikheyev's chest, and it goes in. I mean, they don't ask you how, they only ask you how many. So TJ Brody has been a revelation for the Leafs this year. He's been really good addition. I think personally for this team to go to another level, I love Morgan Riley, but he's been a Toronto Maple Leaf for a long time, and for the amount of time that he's been around, he hasn't been an elite defenseman for the Toronto Maple Leafs the way Victor Hedman has, or the way Aaron Ekblad has, or the way Petrangelo or Roman Yossi. Like, Morgan Riley is not going to hit that level. And being that he has 1 year left on his contract, and he's going to want a pretty significant raise, I think he's going to be at least a $7 million annual cap hit. So I think it's prudent for the Leafs, if not this trade deadline, then maybe in the offseason. Maybe you look for a hockey trade where you trade Morgan Riley and you try to go and get a 1-for-1 deal. It's a hockey trade where you get a young defenseman with a little bit more upside. Maybe it's a Seth Jones, maybe it's a Werenski, maybe it's an Ekblad. I don't know. I'm just saying, I think it's time for the Leafs to look at a different option at that number 1 defenseman slot, rather than Morgan Riley. I see him game in and game out, and he's in plays and he's skating around. He doesn't have a shot. That wrist shot is not going to get a lot of goals. He doesn't really have a cannon from the point. He doesn't take too many slap shots. You don't really get any one-timers from him. And, oftentimes he's on the ice when the puck goes in the net. So he's definitely one of the better guys in the league. I don't want to take anything from Morgan Riley. I loved watching him play for the Leafs, and he's been on the Leafs a long time when we drafted him. But I think it's time to upgrade. And there's some upgrades out there, and there's some teams that are looking to blow things up, and the Nashville Predators are one. They're looking to move Ryan Ellis. The Calgary Flames are going to blow it up this year. Maybe you look at Giordano. I don't know. There is a better alternative out there, a number 1 defenseman. And I think the Leafs have to look at it before they consider signing Morgan Riley long term at a big dollar amount, because I just don't think his numbers and his play warrant the kind of cap hit that he's looking at. And TJ Brody, Zach Bogosian, Muzzin, Hall, all these guys have been good. I don't think Dermott's been all that great this season, which is why I was surprised they traded Lettinen when Dermott has struggled a little bit. But I think eventually this team is going to be quarterbacked by Sandin. And if you got to move Morgan Riley to make that happen, you got to give him the ice time. It's next season. If he doesn't play for the Leafs regularly next season, then you got to move him and try to get a better defenseman. If this kid is playing for the Marlies next year, and he keeps being, everyone keeps touting him as this great defenseman that's on a good trajectory, and he's going to be a great he's going to be a great defenseman in the NHL, then he's got to be playing for the Leafs next year. He cannot be playing for the Marlies anymore. And guys like Dermott, I just don't think he's been all that great. I know his cap hit isn't all that huge, but I think there's upgrades out there, and I think if you replace Dermott with Sandin and you get an upgrade on Morgan Riley, I think the Leafs defense will go to a whole nother level, and you'll get a lot more steady defensive play out of that defense, and it'll help the goaltending too. I don't know who the goaltenders are going to be next year. Hopefully Freddie Anderson comes back healthy before the playoffs and he gets to play some games, and we find out, the play of the goalies is going to determine who's going to be around next year. So if Freddie comes back and he plays solid because his groin is not an issue anymore, and he puts up the same, the last two playoffs he put up a 9-2-2 in 7 games against the Bruins, and he put up a 9-3-6 against the Columbus Blue Jackets. If he keeps putting up those kinds of numbers, if the Leafs do what they're supposed to do in terms of scoring goals, you're bound to have success in the playoffs, especially when you're playing against the Canadian teams and they're not all that great. Like Edmonton Oilers, sure, they can score a lot of goals, but their defense is no good and their goaltenders can be real shaky. Mike Smith is not a superstar by any means. Koskinen is not a superstar by any means. The only goaltender that really scares you in the Canadian division is Connor Hellebuck. And he's shown that he can stand on his head when he needs to. And the Winnipeg Jets are a team that doesn't score too many goals, and they give up a lot of opportunities. So their goaltending has to be real good, because if he's not, then the Winnipeg Jets have no chance of doing anything. And you have Montreal not doing all that great this year. The Canucks are not doing that great this year. Calgary Flames are not that good, and the Ottawa Senators are not that good. So all the Leafs need is steady goaltending, and then score some goals. And hopefully the Leafs go out and get that left winger, maybe a Nick Foligno or Mikael Granlund is a name that everyone keeps talking about. Galchenyuk has looked good, but if you can find a left winger for that top line so that Thornton, Simmons, and Zach Hyman don't have to constantly be rotated on that first line. If you go out and get somebody who can play on the top line, then just other guys slotted better. Whether it doesn't matter who you put with Nylander and Tavares. Galchenyuk looks good there right now, but you could put a Wayne Simmons there, you could put a Joe Thornton there, and then Galchenyuk with Hyman and Mikheyev. There's a lot of opportunities, and I think even if you don't play someone like if Kerfoot is the one that ends up moving, Nick Robertson can score in the NHL right now. Nick Robertson can play in the NHL right now, and put him on the left wing. We're all dying for a Zach Hyman type with more skill, and that's what Nick Robertson is. He's going to go out there, he's going to forecheck hard, he's going to hit hard, he's going to play gritty, and when he shoots, he puts everything behind that puck. So I would love to see Nick Robertson get a shot. Why not? If Joe Thornton, Wayne Simmons can play on that top line, why can't Nick Robertson? He's faster, he's just as gritty, he can cycle the puck, and he shoots hard. And he can make plays. So why not put him on that top line? and maybe go out and get a Mikael Granlund or a Nick Foligno to play with Tavares and Nylander, and then Galchenyuk slots into the third line left wing with Hyman, and then Mikheyev, Engvall, Spezza, Thornton. You have a million options. But it's just the Leafs looked a little slow against the Senators, and they need a little bit more punch. And, unfortunately, the scoring for the Leafs is a little bit spread out, which is good. They have some depth, which is great. You need that for the playoffs. Not every line is going to score every game, but you gotta put skill with skill. And the only reason why Joe Thornton worked out on the top line is because you put skill with skill. So if you go out and get a Foligno or a Mikael Granlund, and then you bring up a guy like Robertson, put skill with skill, and you'll see that Nick Robertson is going to be a great fit. Sandin is going to be a great fit. Like I personally would love to see Sandin play with Hall, or Sandin play with TJ Brody, and let Riley play with Bogosian, and let Dermott sit for a little bit. You got to see what you have in Sandin. This guy's been playing on the Marlies for way too long, and the Leafs' penalty kill has been trash, and their power play is not scoring. And it's not a huge thing going into the playoffs, because normally power plays go way down in the playoffs. So power play, I mean, when it comes to the playoffs, because you get so few opportunities on the power play, your penalty kill has to be huge, and your power play has to take advantage of their opportunities. So the Leafs need to get the special teams figured out. It would have helped in this game when they got 3 power plays if they would have scored on 1. It's not out of the realm of I don't understand why the Leafs, with Nylander and Matthews and Marner and Tavares, can't take advantage of the Ottawa Senators with Anton Forsberg and net on the power play. It's inexcusable. So I think personally you need some hungry guys in the lineup, and you have a lot of skill, but guys like Spezza looks hungry out there. He's scored in 2 straight games. He's scored some pretty good goals. He's taken shots, and he knows he's a veteran player who knows when to put the puck on net, or if all else fails, put the puck on the net. The Leafs play too much east and west. Way too many passes. Shoot the puck, get it on net. Even though they had 41 shots against the Ottawa Senators, there's a lot of opportunities they passed up, and they ended up passing it across the ice on the power play, and the puck got picked off. Just get it on net. The guy in net is at best a third string goalie in the NHL or an AHL goalie. Put the puck on the net. The guy's giving up rebound after rebound, and he has no clue where these pucks are. Put it on net. You have guys like Simmons, Thornton, Tavares in front of the net. Their job is to tip pucks and to clean up the garbage. Let them do that. But if you keep passing it to Morgan Riley, and Morgan Riley keeps going back and forth between Matthews and Marner, you become super predictable. And because Morgan Riley doesn't have a one-timer, and Marner doesn't have a one-timer, you just collapse. The penalty kill, as soon as the pass goes across, they go and rush that guy because they know he's not going to rifle it on net. He's gonna stick handle, he's gonna puck handle, and you have time to go put the pressure on and turn over the puck. The Leafs don't move the puck as well as other teams do, and you see the way Edmonton does it. McDavid flies in on the power play, goes across crease to a one-timer, and Draisaitl puts it in the net. You can't give teams time to think, especially a team as bad as the Ottawa Senators. Their penalty killers are not nearly half as good as your power play guys. Take advantage. No killer instinct. There's no killer instinct. These guys, like the Leafs Their eyes don't light up when they see opportunities to fill the net and get points. There is no such thing as point night for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Not the way Mika Zibanejad does it, not the way Draisaitl does it, and definitely not the way McDavid does it. Our guys are just like, oh hum, it's so casual on the power play. Step up the intensity. Where's the fire? Come on. I mean, I know these guys are talented, and I know these guys are good, and they're going to score a lot of goals in the NHL, and the Leafs are going to end up winning a lot of games in the NHL. But, I want to see the Leafs dominate before they go into the playoffs. And right now they're not doing that. So they got two big games coming up against the Edmonton Oilers, and they're going to be huge in the standings Saturday and Monday. The Leafs need to come out on fire, like their hair is on fire. They need to be skating. They need to be moving the puck fast. And we'll see how it goes. I wasn't too happy with the win. But, in overtime, when it mattered the most, Matthews made a play. He blocked the pass from Shabbat. He went forehand to backhand. He goes inside and out on the defenseman, goes across the net, hits the side of the net, and Marner makes the pass to Hall. And that's what he does. He's a playmaker. He makes great passes. And Hall put it in the net. That's what I want to see for 3 periods. I don't want to see that just in overtime. Come on, guys. I want to see the Leafs just come out and absolutely just smoke a team like the Senators. Like they were doing 5-1 before they took their foot off the gas, and the Ottawa Senators came back and won that game 6-5. That should never happen. But it is what it is. The Leafs are first place. It's funny that I sit here and say all these things. I mean, with the amount of injuries that they've had on with their goalies, and Campbell missing a lot of time, and now Freddie's missing time, and Austin Matthews got a messed up wrist. I mean, Muzzin had a broken face for a couple of weeks. There's a lot going on with the Toronto Maple Leafs. They've had two forwards claimed off waivers. They had a goalie claimed off waivers. I mean, with all that said, the Leafs are first place, and they're doing okay. So, who knows if John Tavares can start scoring again on a regular basis, and the Leafs' penalty kill becomes better, and their power play wakes up, they're going to turn into that dominant team that had a 10-point lead in their division a couple of months ago. So I'm looking for the Leafs to get back to that. Dominate the bad teams. When you're playing against the Senators and you're playing against the Vancouver Canucks, I don't care who's in net. Thatcher Demko, Markstrom, I don't care. Anton Forsberg, Matt Murray. Fill the net, point night. Go out there and dominate these guys with your skill. Why are you guys sitting back? It's you can see the lack of respect the Maple Leafs have for teams again like the Senators and the Vancouver Canucks and the Montreal Canadiens. They're just not coming out and playing. When you see respect from the Toronto Maple Leafs, those 3 games against the Edmonton Oilers, that was respect. The Toronto Maple Leafs came out and said, listen, we're going to bury these guys in the standings, and we're going to take these 3 games, and they're not going to get a sniff. And when you saw those 3 games, that was complete domination. That was complete domination. And the Leafs only took 4 penalties in 3 games. Well, actually, they took 4 penalties in 1 game. In the other 2 games, they didn't take any penalties. And that's what you want to see. If you don't take any penalties, you don't have to kill penalties. So that was complete domination. That's what I wanted to see. And it didn't matter who was in net, whether it was Hutch in net or Campbell in net or Freddie was in net. Just play defense. Just play a good, solid game, and The Leafs look good. I want to see the Leafs get back to that. They look like they're poised to go on a run right now. I think the way the lines are shaping up, and guys are starting to get healthy. Matthews is looking a little bit better. I don't know how true that is, but he's tapping his stick on the power play. He wants the puck. He wants to shoot, so that's a good sign. I don't know if his wrist is actually better or if he's just saying, "Screw it, I gotta shoot. If I don't shoot, who else is gonna shoot on this power play?" Honestly. So I think that's why the main reasons why the Leafs aren't scoring on the power play in these morning, because they don't have a threat on the power play to rip a one-timer, to shoot it from the point. Their defensemen don't have a real crazy slap shot, so yeah, they're very predictable. Move the puck around the net, get it to Austin Matthews, and then everybody just gets in the shooting lanes and starts blocking shots. I mean, it's not rocket science. To shut down the Leafs power play is probably one of the easier things to do in the NHL. But personally, I'm seeing some good things. I think the Leafs are going to break out of this soon, and I think they're going to go on a run. But it's frustrating when you see this much talent on the ice against a bad team like the Senators, and their eyes aren't just wide open, lit up like tonight. Like Mika Zibanejad, he's like, it's like the Flyers suck right now. I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna score 2 natural hat tricks and score 12 points in 2 games. And that's his eyes lit up. He saw, you could see the fire. He's like, I'm just gonna get in the slot and I'm gonna take the puck and put it in the net. And I wish there were more nights like that from guys like John Tavares, Nylander, Marner, Matthews. They don't. You don't really see that fire burning inside that says, "I need to get 100 points this season." But we'll see how it goes. It's been a weird up and down season. The schedule's been all over the place, so especially just the last 2 weeks, 2 games in 10 days. It's hard to get into any sort of rhythm. But with as many games as the Leafs have coming up in not a lot of amount of time, I think the Leafs are gonna get into a groove, and they better, because there's only 20 some odd games left in the season. So go Leafs, go! We're in first place, and hopefully when I talk to you guys on Monday or Tuesday, the Leafs will have 2, no doubt about it, victories over the Edmonton Oilers to shut them up and bury them in the standings. Let me know what you guys think about trade deadline. I think the Leafs are going to go out and get a couple of guys, and they're going to be very similar to the Eric Stahl trade. They're going to find either someone's going to have to take some cap space, and the Leafs are going to end up giving prospects and picks. So it's going to be interesting. I'll see you guys in a couple of days. Go Leafs, go! Take care.